Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today I'm doing the New York book tag created by Jim at Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. And this has 10 prompts about New York City. Prompt number 1. What is your favorite book set in or around New York? Well, I'll pick this one, Call It Sleep by Henry Roth. This was published in 1934 when Roth was about 30. He was an immigrant to the United States, and he wrote this magnificent book about life in the early 30s, actually early the 20s because it's about a young boy. But it is just a perfect picture of New York City at that time. And it is also a modernist novel. It is a lot like Virginia Woolf, has some James Joyce, and a little bit of Faulkner in its view of modernism. So it's a very good modernist novel about the immigrant's life in New York City. And it's the one book that he published in his youth. It took him 61 years to publish another novel. He was in his 80s when he published his second book. That has to be a record. Prompt number 2. New York is famous for its skyscrapers. What is the highest building you have been up? Not quite sure. I was staying at a cousin's apartment in Chicago, and I believe he lived on the 23rd floor of a building. Not sure how high that was, but the one that I think is higher is the Space Needle in Seattle, which is 605 feet, which in the first half of the century was the tallest building on the West Coast. So I'm going to go with the Space Needle in Seattle. Prompt number 3. New York, New York. So good they named it twice. What is the last book you reread? That would be The Man with the Golden Arm by Nelson Algren, the 1950 winner of the National Book Award. A story of a drug addict in Chicago who's dealing cards sort of on the sly, and again, a drug addict who has dreams of becoming a jazz drummer. It is just a magnificent novel about people on the margins of society. Prompt number 4. American Psycho was a disturbing novel set in New York. What is the most disturbing book you have read? Now that is interesting about what people are going to consider disturbing. If you want to go for just graphic violence of cannibalism, rape, and torture, we can go with Off Season by Jack Ketchum. That is just a horror novel about cannibals up in Maine. They eat people, they torture them, they rape them. Yeah, it's just silly violence. But if you want to talk about a book that is truly disturbing, that can make me sit up and lose sleep at night, I'm going to go with American Crusade, How the Supreme Court is Weaponizing Religious Freedom by Andrew L. Seidel. Because there are 6 judges who have extreme religious views who are interpreting the law for the United States of America. And they are very happy and very content to interpret laws that favor their own religion over other people's religion. And if you do not follow their religion, there is a good chance in the future, if they continue to make laws, you will be fucked. That's why I'm disturbed, because I do not belong to their religion. Prompt number 5. Where were you when you heard news about 9/11? I was working at my little job in Chantilly, Virginia. It was just a normal work day. Then a guy named Cliff sent me one of those emails with a photo attachment that just had a picture of this plane crashing into the first tower. And his comment was just, wow, exclamation point. At that point, there was no knowledge of any other incidents. And we just thought it was just a bad plane accident. And then things got worse. Now, as I said, I was in Chantilly, Virginia, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C. We later learned about the plane crashing into the Pentagon. And my wife was working in Washington, D.C. at the time. So yeah, I was a bit concerned about how to get her out of Washington, D.C. safely, because nobody knew what was going on. Prompt number 6. What is your favorite movie set in New York? I am going to go with The French Connection. It is a 1971 crime action thriller directed by William Friedkin and starring Gene Hackman. It is just a marvelous little set piece in New York City. It's a great movie. Haven't seen it in too many years. I should take the effort to rewatch it, but I just don't watch that many movies nowadays. But still, a favorite movie set in New York City. Prompt number 7. Have you ever been to New York? When was the last time you visited New York? Probably in the early 2000s, 2001, 2002, maybe 2003, somewhere around there. I went on a little trip. I visited the Stand, bought a whole lot of used books because if you go to New York City, you have to buy books at the Strand. Also, I had visited a number of years earlier. When I was in my mid-20s, I went up for a job interview in Brooklyn, New York, at a book distribution company. At the time, I was working for Borders Books, and I could have gotten that job in Brooklyn, and I kind of wish I had taken it. However, the neighborhood that this company was set was not a very safe neighborhood of Brooklyn. When I went up to interview, I had a friend who lived in the suburbs outside New York City. We drove in the neighborhood, and we were both looking at each other and going, this is kind of a seedy neighborhood. And then I was doing my job interview, talking to the guy, and I asked, where is your nearest subway stop? And he goes, 2 blocks away. I go, oh, good, that's a real easy walk. He goes, you're not allowed to walk it. We have a shuttle to take you to and from the subway, because the neighborhood was too dangerous for its employees to walk 2 blocks. I should have taken the job and lived in New York for a while, but that sort of made me chicken out. I do wish I had taken it, although I would have had a completely different life if I had. Prompt number 8. Who is your favorite painter from New York, or what is your favorite painting of New York? Well, Jim has stolen Nighthawks by Edward Hopper. So instead of just parroting his reply, I'm going to go with Willem de Kooning. He was an abstract expressionist. He did abstract expressionism, or action painting, if Wikipedia is to be trusted. He was originally born in Rotterdam and moved to Manhattan in 1927. His paintings are funky. Of course, they're expressionists, so you know they have to be funky. I kind of like them, although Nighthawks really is the better painting. Prompt number 9. What is your favorite song about New York? Well, can I pick Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin? It was originally performed in 1924 in New York City, but it is not explicitly a song about New York. It has no lyrics, so you just have to interpret it as being a song about New York. If I had to pick a song that explicitly mentioned New York City, I would go for I'm Waiting for My Man by the Velvet Underground. The lyrics describe a man's efforts to obtain heroin in Harlem. And it's a fun little song. I mean, I hesitate to say fun because it's about heroin addict, but it has this very gritty sound that's a sort of a pre-punk. And I kind of like it. Prompt number 10, tag some people. Well, I'm going to do Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics because he might have something to say about New York City. I will also do Anna Novella. She's in Belgium. I don't know if she's ever been to New York City, but it's okay. Jim's not in New York City. He's in Georgia, the country, not the state. So she can do that too, if she wants to. I am also going to do Bad to Rad 2 because let's get some smaller booktubers. She only has about 542 subscribers at this point. I will also do Crybaby Films because that person was on my chat last Monday and wanted to be tagged. So you are tagged. And lastly, I'm going to tag Criminale. I don't know if he's been to New York, but his favorite author is Ed McBain, which I believe is a New York City author who wrote the 87th Precinct novels, which is his favorite series of books. Now, in those series, the city is not New York City, but it's New York City. So those are the people I tag. Don't do them if you don't want to. It's just an option. And that is the end. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.